So once it's out of the box, you'll notice very quickly that there's a big line in the middle. See that line? That's actually where the two mirrors are meant to join together. And the thing is, it's critical that that line is tightened up so it's invisible. We separate it so that it ships properly. Okay, and basically if you look in the back, you'll see how that works. In the back, there's 5 holes that are meant to be tightening the seam, but also, just so you're clear, there's 3 shipping screws. They're painted yellow. So see how it says remove the shipping screws completely. So those yellow screws have to come out. Not the silver ones, the yellow ones. So there's 3 of them there. And they just unscrew with a lot of screws. You can probably use a power screw drill if you have it. Just be careful that you're reversing it, not pushing it towards the center. But the point is you're pulling them out and then you're going to store them here just in case you want to ship it again. Okay, so you're removing the yellow screws first. Okay, so you can see I removed the 3 screws. Okay, see that's where they were. And the silver screws are left alone, and I stored them over here. Okay, when you're done, you can screw them all the way in. This is where a power drill comes into play. Okay, so now this is the critical part. What we're going to do is turn these screws slightly, and while we're turning, we're going to stay in the front and actually watch how that gap gets closed down, okay? So the trick here is basically you're going to find the screw there, put the screwdriver in, and then come up to the front and just watch as you turn it. Now it's going to take probably about 5 or 10 turns to totally tighten this up. And what we want to do is not tighten it all the way up at first. I don't know if you can see, but I've tightened it up to maybe a fifth of the distance where it was. Now I'm going to go to the second screw. So I find myself on the second screw, and then I come back and I start tightening. And you see that black line will get tighter and tighter. And the reason we want to do this in order is we don't want to put too much stress on one part of the mirror than the other. And I'm going to go to the third one and tighten that up. And you can see now I'm probably about halfway. You can't see it much on the camera. I have to come closer. This is where we were. See how much a difference the gap is that I've gotten to? But I can still see it. And our goal is to actually make that like virtually invisible. But we want to get it close top to bottom before we actually tighten it up completely. So now I'm going to go to the 4th screw. Okay. And then finally the 5th screw at the bottom. So basically once I get that all about the same distance, then I can start tightening it up to where it's just about invisible. So I get the bottom one almost invisible. Now I'm going to the second one from the bottom, and that's almost done. And the third, it's almost done. And the 4th, it's just about done. And then the top one. Okay, so now that I'm looking at it, when I'm looking at it here, it's invisible, so you can't see it at all. Now what will happen is that you'll do this when you first get it, and then about a day or 2 later you might have to do it just a little bit more, like maybe another half a turn. The goal is to not over tighten it. If you over tighten it, you put a little wobble in the image. So the trick is on that is to just back it out a little bit so you slightly see the seam and then tighten it so that the seam goes away. That way you know you haven't over tightened it. Okay, so that's the way we get the seam tightened. And of course if you have to move the mirror around, if you just undo those screws, the mirrors will come apart again. And unless you're shipping it, that should be enough if you just want to move it around safely, as long as you don't drop it. But if you think it'll be dropped or it needs to go back into the shipping box, then you want to put the shipping screws back in and tighten them enough so that they're touching and you're pushing out the glass. You'll see the gap increase. Okay, so now the second part is to actually adjust it, and I'll make a separate video of that. Okay, thanks.